That's right. Welcome in. Welcome back, folks, to a No More Business Trips edition of the Always Irish Show. As always, thank you for being here. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the program on the very popular website known as youtube.com. I'd appreciate it very much. Give the video a thumbs up as well if you approve of the content. I appreciate that too. Twitter, search bar Always Irish or at Always Irish Inc. Audio only anywhere you want, but you could get me. Call in line 312-988-15. Have your point heard and seen. All right. Here's the deal. Fellow members and family of ND Nation, in case you haven't realized it by now, things are changing and changing fast within the Notre Dame football program under the venerable Coach Marcus Freeman. Some of these changes are very, very practical, like extremely practical. All you got to do is look at the present recruiting rankings. Okay, you added Absher this week to the O-line, and it's just so far so good in recruiting. It's going terrific overall in that regard. It doesn't take a genius to look at BK's recent vintage classes and then look at the 23 class and to realize the current staff is upping the ante. They're raising the bar. They are going after a totally different cut of athlete than Brian Kelly was willing to put in the work it takes to get access to and interest from in a reciprocal fashion. Right? Doors are opening that weren't open before. Phone calls are being made and received that weren't before. That's a very, very practical notion. It is measurable. It's tangible proof of progress. A couple years ago, Brian Kelly had 15 three-star guys in Notre Dame's recruiting class at the end of it. Out of what? What does Notre Dame offer? A couple hundred scholarships a year? There's under 15 offers out for 3 stars this year. That is a very tangible, practical way to gauge progress, in my opinion. You're going after a different kind of kid, different type athlete. Still good kids, still good families, still good grades, and oh, by the way, 4- and 5-star talent. Beautiful. That's the playground Notre Dame should have been playing in for years, and they weren't. Now they are. Tangible, practical progress that you could literally measure through recruiting and see it, talk about it, debate about it. Get into arguments with Michigan people about it, which is what I've spent the afternoon doing, and I've enjoyed it 100% fully. They don't like me, and I like that. It's beautiful. It's perfect, right? Now, here's the other side of things. A side that I think I'm not going to say is equally important, but it's incredibly important. But I don't feel like it gets talked enough about, likely because there is no actual exact measurement for it, no exact gauge for it. What I'm referencing is mindset, tone, vibe of the program, that kind of stuff. I mention this often. I mention it often now, and I mentioned it all the time with Kelly because I felt that he never managed this aspect of the program well enough. All right? He did a lot of good things here. I'm not saying he didn't, but this is something I never feel like he got the right handle on, the right messaging, the right buttons to push to get the most out of your guys when you need it the most. I do not feel he was ever able to figure that part out here. My proof of that is that we never seemed to play our best in the biggest games, full strength against full strength. I'm The Clemson first game in 20 counted, but no Notre Dame person can act like it's the same it would have been with Lawrence playing. It was a great night, one of the best I've had in a long time. We beat number one. I love it. I'm happy. Deep down, I'm not acting like it was the same as if we beat them with him playing. Well, John, you don't know. We could have still beat it. You had the chance again and didn't do it. And it was ugly. All right? So I'm not trying to downplay that night. It's one of the best nights I've had in a long time as a Notre Dame fan. But I'm not going to act like Lawrence was there like he was second game and we beat him straight up. I'm not. They're just not the same. So what I'm saying is, outside of that dynamic, he never figured it out. The motivation, the mental aspect, the buttons to press, to go get the most out of your guys in the biggest games. Note that I didn't just say, oh, we lose our biggest games. It's possible. I'm very careful about my wording. I didn't just complain and say Kelly couldn't motivate his guys. We lost our biggest games. That's not what I said. Go back. What I said is we never seem to play our best in the biggest games. It is possible for you to play a good, clean game from your end and just get beat by a team who does the same but has way better talent. But that's not what we saw in the biggest moments. We failed to play anything close to our capabilities, which is all I can ask for of my team. Miami 17, Michigan 19, all the playoff games, lost before they even started. Something was wrong. There's a motivational disconnect. I don't know about the playoff games, but especially Michigan 19, Miami 17. Those games were lost and were blowouts before Notre Dame even got off the bus. There was something mentally wrong there. Scared, intimidated, just not matching the emotion of your opponent. Those are head coaching failures. It is your job as the head coach to be able to drive that emotion and get out of the guys what you need. He never figured it out. Brian Kelly took emotion out of the equation on purpose. You were in a situation where you had Miami and Michigan foaming at the mouth to get a piece of Notre Dame in prime time, ratcheted up emotion from their end. On our end, it's just a business trip. That's all. Playoff hopes on the line, night game in Ann Arbor, business trip. Punch the clock, be a calm, quiet, good little Catholic boy. Sit in your cubicle, Johnny, and do your work on your laptop between your little walls. No emotion. Every day's the same. Every game's the same. Every week's the same. Business trip. So be a good little boy. Do your accounting work. Punch your numbers into the box. And then punch out meekly and go home to your regular, boring life. That's how Brian Kelly got guys ready for a big game. That was it. It's just a business trip. Punch in, punch out. Go in there and do your job. I've said it a million times. College football is an emotional sport. It is one of the reasons that we all love it so much and we're addicted to it so much. The emotions of the players and the fans and these college towns and what game days like on all these campuses with their traditions. That's why we love it all, is the emotion of it. Brian Kelly went out of his way to negate that and not embrace it. And I'll never understand why. I'll never understand. It makes no sense. And it had to have made it less fun for the guys. The hell with me. Just seems like it wasn't that something was missing with that big game build-up mentality. Something was missing. Losing is losing. But I never even felt like we gave it a good, solid effort, played our best, and got beat by a better team. We just totally folded. And I would argue some of these games were lost before we even started. And I just don't like it. I don't like it. I don't think that's the best way to get the most out of your guys. The business trip thing is always just, it's a pet peeve. I just think it's a mistake. That attitude doesn't win you big games. College football is about that emotion. Not out of control emotion, controlled, focused emotion. Great example of that. Notre Dame, Miami, Lou Holtz saved Jimmy Johnson's ass for me. Boom. Hit the right button. The group played with their heads on fire, and look what happened. He had the knack to know what button to press when to get the most out of his guys. Kelly never, ever figured that out. And if it looked like he did for certain games, a couple of them over his tenure, big games we did win, it was either probably the guys doing it on their own or whatever Kelly tried that week. It kind of worked, but nothing stuck. Not a sustainable recipe for football success, right? This emotion, I feel, is very needed if you're going to win a big-time ball game. Here's the good news. Marcus is bringing that back. He's bringing it back. Talking about Ohio State, he said this week, I don't care if we're a 13.5-point dog. Go ahead and make it 21. I want everybody in our program to know everybody is counting you out. I love it. I absolutely love it. He's building an emotional narrative to ingrain in our guys and everybody around the program all summer. There's an angle. There's an angle. There's an approach. There's an emotional plan. Here's the thing. I'm not saying that it's going to work and it's like a guarantee we're going to beat Ohio State week 1. I am not saying that. Don't get it twisted. That is not my position. All I'm saying is it gives me comfort to see that I know Marcus is paying attention to this. And I see that he's aware of this dynamic. I can see that he's building a narrative he can push his guys with. I never saw that from Kelly. And if you did, it was too late. And there was too much other evidence. So then it seemed to come off faked or forced, or you could see through it. And that doesn't work either. Doing this emotional push thing as the head guy, it's got to be believable. It has to be genuine. It can't be every week we're just going to hope we have that emotion and it's a business trip. And then one week he came in the locker room at halftime, no more Mr. Nice Guy. Like, throw everything at the wall, hope something sticks is what he was doing. All right? So I am not saying him building up this underdog motivational narrative is going to equate to us beating Ohio State week 1. That's not my point. My point is that I love the fact that I can see that he values these angles. You can see that for this ball game, that underdog angle is going to be pushed every week all summer, ingrained in all of our guys' heads. Bulletin board material, Ohio State people, oh, we're going to beat them by 40, all of that, right? All that. I love the fact that I have a head coach that I know is aware of how to put together a narrative to motivate his guys. I just think whether we win or not against Ohio State, at least there's an angle. Okay? At least there's an emotional angle being pushed and worked on. I think that's important. Kelly didn't. Kelly didn't. So far, you guys, Marcus is hitting a home run. I love the staff he built. I love the recruiting. And I love the emotional effort here with the underdog angle and embracing it and building it up all summer. I love all that. It's little things, you guys. Little things that turn into big things. One of the big knocks on Brian Kelly with recruiting is, especially when it came to those big-time quarterbacks, you would always hear from recruiting experts, Notre Dame gets in the game so late that a lot of these other schools have built these good relationships with these players and their families 3 or 4 or 5 years before Notre Dame even shows interest in recruiting them. That means you're behind when you start in relationship building, building trust, building rapport, having the parents like you, all of that. Recruiting experts all the time were saying Notre Dame was too late on all this. That's changing too. Notre Dame is offering guys earlier, communicating with guys earlier. It's amazing. It's amazing. So right now, to me, he's hitting a home run. I love the staff. I love the way they all recruit. He himself is doing a great job recruiting. I love it. I absolutely love it. Here's the thing. And this is where we're going to finish. While I love all this, and we're going over how much I like this new approach compared to the old one, I'm having a little bit of an existential struggle here. And this is tough for me to think about and talk about. Is there a downside to all this momentum and all the excitement I have for Marcus Freeman right now? There is. And it's called the Michigan problem. Think about it. When a guy is a perfect fit, doing things how you think they should be done, the way Marcus is, if it flames out for any reason or doesn't work out, then where does that leave you? Think about it. Just like Jim Harbaugh, the Michigan man coming home, played there, ghosts a Bo, who's a god but never won a national title. I still can't understand that. All of that, the perfect fit, gets Michigan, the Michigan man thing. His dad lives right around the corner. All of it that Harbaugh was built up to be. The perfect fit for Michigan in every damn way. If it doesn't work out, your life schema is ruined forever. Because it means the guy you thought was perfect still couldn't get over the hump. Where does that leave you? In a very dark, dark alley. In a very dark alley. I'm feeling some of this with Marcus. Because so far, he is doing everything that I wanted a Notre Dame coach to do. He's doing it. He's doing it. All those frustrating times I would sit there frustrated with Kelly, look at where we were, where I wanted us to be, trying to figure out how to get over that divide, you know. Marcus Freeman's doing it. All of the things on my bullet point list, Marcus is doing. He's building a staff I love, blended with older guys and younger guys. They all recruit. The recruiting is relentless. The only way Notre Dame's ever going to get over the hump and win a playoff game is this kind of recruiting effort we're getting and we're going to get. His energy, his vibe, the genuine way he speaks, all of it. His reverence for the spirit of Notre Dame and that he knows that it's not about him. It's about Notre Dame and all of us together. All of it. All of his approaches so far have been exactly what I dreamed of forever. It better work. It better work. That's all I'm saying. Like, That's where I'm going to end up existentially in a very dark place. If I had these ideas for the last 25 years of what it looks like and that we didn't have, and then I get everything I want and it still doesn't work, that's going to leave Johnny in a dark, dark place that I don't want to visit. It's the place that makes me the happiest whenever Michigan falls short. I know they had a good run last year. I don't expect that to continue. It ended in the playoffs the same way our playoffs end, right? But they had fun for a while. But that's where this all comes back home to roost for me personally. Marcus is doing everything exactly like I wanted forever. All his approaches, mentally, the way they recruit, all of it. But he's got to win the games, right? Like, you could be a recruiting champion on paper and then mess it all up, I guess, on the field. But with this recruiting and this good of a staff, how can Marcus fail that bad? He is way, way too smart to not quickly learn how to be a good, effective head coach. That's the only red flag on him, right? So far, that's the only red flag on him, is there's no head coaching body of work that gives you peace of mind, right? So I just think with the support he has around him, the talent he's bringing into the program, as well-spoken and intelligent as you could tell Marcus is, I just don't see any way he's not going to learn how to be a good head coach in Notre Dame. I don't. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. So I think the arrow's pointing straight up, but in particular with the no more business trips, I like knowing this early in the spring, summer, Marcus is creating a public angle. That's the other thing here. That's the other thing. Maybe Kelly did motivate in ways behind closed doors none of us saw. It's different when you challenge everybody publicly. That hits different. When you make it publicly known, that's a whole different thing than you saying something to your guys behind closed doors. So him being so public about it, I love. So I'm not saying that it's a guarantee because he's making it a big deal. We're going to beat Ohio State. That's silly. Obviously, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying big picture. I find comfort knowing he values the emotion in this and is trying to build a motivational angle. I never got that out of Kelly, and it's one of his biggest failures in my mind. Okay? This is all trending up. I'm here for it, and I love it. Gone are the days of the business trips. Now it's time to get mad, get mean, and go make some moves. I love it. Have a good one.